If you happen to find yourself single and want to experience searching for a life partner online and on dating apps, I just happen to have a few tips that I wish I knew before joining dating apps and trying out online dating. I truly wish after watching my video you will skip the necessary heartbreaks that I went through before I changed my whole strategy at how I approached online dating. I can say this new strategy works because I'm engaged now. So it's been tried and proven to work. Hey y'all, welcome to my video, and I'm glad you stumbled upon this particular video because today I want to continue sharing some tips which I wish I knew before joining dating apps and having an online dating experience. If I knew what I know now, I would have avoided a lot of traps that you are likely to stumble upon should you decide to follow this path of or this journey of online dating. So, lucky for you, I'm here to share what I know so you don't have to go through what I went through. You're welcome. So, this is part 2, and if you want to get more out of this video and make sense of what I am trying to say, I encourage you to go to my previous video and come back to this one. But if you've already done that, then let's get on with it, shall we? Good. So, tip number 4, don't be desperate. The reason why healing is important before jumping back into the dating pool or arena is because the longer you are alone, the more you will realize that you don't really need a partner. And the very moment that you become aware that you are content with being alone, being single, that is a perfect time to start searching for a partner. The reason why this particular time is perfect is because your general state has changed and you are no longer feeling like you lack anything. The feeling of loneliness is what you get when you know you lack someone or something. And you are lonely because you are lacking a partner, especially after losing the partner. So, the longer it takes, the more intense the sense of lack is felt within you. And to add fuel to fire, that feeling is magnified by anxiety or fear of being alone forever, and even dying alone, and people calling you the cat lady and all those sorts of things that go on around in our societies. And when you mix loneliness and anxiety, you now become desperate, like someone about to drown and they're trying to gasp for air. And when you are desperate, even the worst person that you could meet would seem like a perfect companion until they're not. And if you are really thirsty, you can drink anything and think it's water when it's not. However, when you are not bothered about not having a partner at all, what you are naturally doing is consciously reducing the importance or the value that you initially placed on the idea of finding a partner. And when finding a partner is no longer of importance to you, that becomes like the final test of any hero's journey, where you have to give up whatever it is that you are seeking to prove that you truly deserve it. And after the test is passed, doors automatically will open for you. I know I did get carried away there and I went all deep, but I promise I want to keep these videos really simple and straightforward. So you see, when you're desperate, you reek of it. Desperation reeks, and you will be taken advantage of and meet people whose only reason for existing in your reality or in your world is to teach you a very hard lesson, to prove to you how bad it can really, really get. I want you to imagine dating apps and online dating in general as a portal where every person that you want and equally don't want exists. The person with the qualities that you want and are looking for in any partner or in a partner exists, and equally the person with the worst kind of qualities that you do not ever want in a partner also is there. The equation must always balance. Whatever it is that you pull out from that portal or from that hat is the exact reflection of your current vibrational state or what you're currently feeling deep inside. And please, I encourage you to reflect on what I've just said because it was really, really important. Tip number 5, set a parameter or a boundary around what it is that you're looking for. So in my previous video, I think it was tip number 2, I talked about people having a fixed end goal in mind and somewhat discouraged this because that is a recipe for a disaster waiting to happen, really. But however, setting a boundary around what qualities that you are looking for is entirely different from setting a fixed end goal. The parameters can be thought of as markers for only you to know when the partner that you're searching for has been brought to you. Ask and you shall receive, right? For us Bible reading people. Yeah. But then how would you know you have received if you don't know what it was that you were asking for or that you asked for? I'll give you a simple example that I applied. So first thing was, I made it very, very, very clear I would never message the man first. I'm a very traditional type of woman and I want to let the man do the chasing. I want to let the man come to me and not vice versa. But that's what works for me. You can do whatever works for you. So all the people I spoke to or went on dates with had to message me first. That was the first marker. That was my parameter. And I didn't want to cross it and I never crossed it. And the second example is when I first joined dating apps, I find myself very drawn to astrology, horoscopes and stuff. It was like a cheat sheet for me for all my potential dates. I would casually ask them their birthdays or their sun signs if they were aware and get on, investigating before my date. Because online dating can be very complicated and very tricky, especially when it comes to the whole idea of, meeting a complete stranger. You have nothing to go by, you know nothing about them, no prior knowledge whatsoever except what they have told you, which is normally as good as, well, nothing, because I've just told you the best parts about themselves. So if you are really not into horoscope and think it's a bunch of hocus pocus, that's fine. But what I can say is it helped me a lot, and I mean a lot. It gave me an overview of who I was meeting and gave me some sort of a behind the scenes kind of a personality about them, the ones that people are not really willing or eager to share with you on their first dates. Yeah, that stuff. So it was very insightful and very educational for me, and I found it really, really interesting. So using my primary beginner level knowledge in astrology I had back then, I decided I wanted a Leo man because, well, me being an Aries woman, or the sun sign that I felt more drawn to is Leo. And since it is also one of the 3 sun signs that I am compatible with, then that just made things easier and better for me. So I decided I wanted a Leo man, so I asked for a Leo man. And I asked for a specific thing also for him to do for me to know that it was really him. And what I asked for was I wanted him to drive me to the airport to pick up my daughter. And yeah, surprise, surprise, he really did that. I didn't even ask. He just proposed himself. And after he did that, I knew that I was in the right place. That was the second, or I don't know, third or fourth marker that he had gotten right. So I was pretty excited that I was in the right track. And he asked me to be his girlfriend after about a month or something like that of us dating. So parameters are important because you want to work with something, but at the same time you also do not want to limit yourself to an even better potential partner, because you don't know, we all don't know what the universe has in store for us. So this will give you the flexibility and let you work within the parameters, and the markers that you have put in place will steer you towards where you need to go. But always remember to never cross your boundary and stay within the parameters, because if you don't, then that will just defeat the purpose of even having the boundary in the first place. I think it also interests you to explain what crossing your parameters might look like. So it looks something like that, like this. Say you do not and cannot stand a partner or people who engage in alcohol, who drinks, who get drunk for some reason, and you do not wish to have a partner who drinks. So a potential partner shows up and checks all your markers, perfect, passes them with flying colors, and you find out that they drink alcohol, the very thing that you detest. But then you decide, well, you know, I can let this little one thing go. You know, they've done everything perfect, and they check all the checklists, and they're good. I can overlook this drinking issue, and his drinking is not really that bad, so I might as well just ignore it, and in time, who knows, he might change. Well, the truth of the matter is he won't change. Why? Well, because people don't change because you ask them nicely. They change because they want to change. You are far better off maintaining your parameters and tightening your boundaries and keeping them airtight, because the very thing that you will choose to overlook, keyword there being choose, because no one forces you to make these decisions. You make them by your own free will. So the very thing that you've chosen to overlook 9 times out of 10 will be the weakest link to your relationship. Everything is a test. So what you need to do is just be very aware. Tip number 6, keep your mouth shut. And I'll explain why I say this. You want to hear this because a lot of people are guilty of this sin. So listen, there's nothing entirely wrong with being excited. You've met a potential partner. I mean, it's exciting news. You know, someone that you have clicked with, taking things slow and getting somewhere. It's just perfect. You're gaining ground together, and that's good. That is absolutely amazing. Happiness is a very good vibrational state to be in. And except if this happiness is entirely hinged on the person of interest, or even the idea of being in a relationship with someone. How would you know if you are just happy for the sake of being happy, or if your happiness is hinged on the idea of the relationship, or the idea of someone? Well, simple. Ask yourself this. Would you still be happy if that person or that relationship was taken away from you? And if your answer is yes, well, then you're fine, you're safe. But if the answer is no, you are in trouble, my friend. Anyway, that's just something that I wanted to share for the books. But now let's get back on track. When you talk to others about someone you've met, and I don't mean something like, oh, I've met someone, they seem really nice and I really like them, I think I'll see them again. But what I mean is something like this. Oh my God, she or he's the one. This person is like this is it for me, guys. This is like, oh my God, this person is so perfect in every way. That's what I mean. Keep going on and on about this person and just talking about them constantly to everyone that you meet. Try not to do that, because what you're literally doing is you're creating an idol out of that person. Bible, church going people, God doesn't like idols. And in nature doesn't like you creating idols as well. The very fact that the very moment that you start idolizing that person and you're adding so much value to them, try not to do that, because you're literally creating an idol out of this person, and nature doesn't like that. The problem with adding too much value to that person by talking about them constantly will result in the consequences that will leave you very disappointed. Either way, or one of two things will happen. You will either find out something about them that will completely force you to change your mind or to change how you look at them completely, or they will be taken away from you, i.e. they will ghost you. Whatever it is, you won't have them for long if you constantly talk about them and making an idol about all of them. It happened to me a lot of times, and I can't even count to how many times this happened to me. But when I met my partner, I barely talked about him to anyone. I would mention of him obviously for safety, because you are meeting a stranger and you can't be more careful. You have to let people know where you're going. But I only shared the general things that they needed to know about him. That is it. But I barely talked about him at all. I just kept it to myself. Even though deep in my heart I was so excited, I was having a party in there, but at face value, I could have fooled you. I was so poised, I was so composed. I managed my emotions very, very well. And I talked to him, I think, to my family after he asked me to be his girlfriend. As I said, after like 6 weeks or something. And that's when they knew about him, about like what was going on. But that was all they knew. That is when they knew. He was a secret, because this time I wasn't messing around, and things just worked when I did certain things. And that's when I realized that there is a pattern or a formula to how these things work. And now you know. Tip number 7, manage your expectations. The majority of people tend to have high expectations of what they want from a partner. Don't get me wrong. It's not wrong to want things from others. That's what being in a relationship is mostly about. Everything is transactional, And I know others will not agree with what I'm saying, but I'm not here to try to convince you of that. That's not the point. What I'm trying to say is you are simply with someone because of what they can do for you, and vice versa. That's why you chose them and not all the others. But however, managing expectations is only for your own good. So you don't set yourself up for disappointment. Keep your expectations on a minimum, not too low either, and not too high. I will give you an example. There is a lot of back and forth between the issue of who should pay for the bill on the first date. Everyone has their own reasons for proposing whatever it is that they prefer based on their personal standards. And that is completely okay. For me personally, I prefer the man to pay for the bill. And I'm not saying that's a right or wrong way to do things. We all have different reasons, as I said, why we choose these experiences. And I'm saying there is no right or wrong way to live. What can be wrong in my eyes can be right for you, and vice versa. Anyway, as I was saying, that if I have set a standard and have an expectation that my date is paying for the bill, I still have to balance the equation and manage my expectation so that I avoid any form of disappointment. And just how do I do that? Well, I make sure that I can also pay for the bill if the roles were reversed. Why? Because it all comes down to common sense. I cannot expect someone to do something for me if I cannot do the same for them. Or myself. You also have to be willing to sacrifice the very thing that you're expecting others to do for you, to give you. So it all just comes to basic common sense. That's how things work. Give and you take. So I made sure that every time I had a date and I was getting ready for my date, I would also make sure that I was financially okay. So that if they don't pick up the bill or ask to split the bill with me, I would gladly pay 100% of that bill. But, there's a but. That would be the first and the last time I see them. Why? They are simply not what I prefer. They fall outside of my parameters. They're not what I'm looking for. And I can 100% truthfully say that since joining dating apps, all the dates that I had been on, I never had to pull out my purse, not even once. And I can say I have been on numerous dates, and I don't think I can actually put a number to it. So finally, I met my prince after such a long search, and yeah, everything worked out well. But for now, I should pretty much stop there. And in my next video, I will share more tips and give a little relationship advice as well. Because finding the partner is pretty much just the beginning, it's just the first step. But every relationship, even with the right partner, can turn into hell very quickly if you fail to manage it or didn't have a good foundation from the start. Things can get very messy very fast. So watch out for my next video, and if you found this one interesting, please let me know. And always remember, stay safe.